Hi everyone, this is Patrick from English Hanoi. Thank you very much for joining me today on this live stream. Today I think we've got a very, very good lesson for you. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be looking at part 2 of the speaking test, and we're going to be looking at, what are we going to be looking at? Some good vocabulary, how to change up your answer. What's the word I'm looking for? Paraphrase your answer, that's the word. We're going to be looking at how to lengthen your answers and how to give the examiner what he or she is looking for. So before we get into the lesson, let me take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Patrick O'Grady. I've been teaching English for a long time. I've helped thousands of students all over the world improve their English. I taught in Korea for 3 years. I taught in Saudi Arabia for 5 years, and I've been here in Vietnam about 11 years. So, and while I've been in Vietnam, I've been doing work with communication and a lot of IELTS. I've been helping a lot of people improve their IELTS band score so they can study overseas or immigrate to another country. So that's me. Thank you very much for joining, as I said. And let's just do it, shall we? Let's get into the lesson. So this question, I've chosen this question as one of the hot new topics or questions that might be asked in the 2019 IELTS. Okay, so let's take a look at it, shall we? Here we go. I hope you can see this well. It says, describe an old person who is interesting. You should say who this person is, how you know this person, what you do with this person, and why you think this person is interesting. Okay. So when you get this card for part 2 of the exam, the examiner will hand you something like this, and you've got about 1 minute to think about your answer. You already know that, I'm sure, but maybe I could give you a bad answer here, and I'd like you to think maybe, why is this a bad answer? So let me see here. Let me give you a bad answer. I'm going to describe an old person who is interesting. His name is Ronan. I knew this guy for about 16 years. I met him when I was in Saudi Arabia. I've been working and teaching English with Ronan for a few years, and he moved to Vietnam about 1.5 years ago. I think he's really interesting because he's got a very deep knowledge of English. Finish. So what do you think? Was that a good answer for this question? There's 2 big problems with my answer. Number 1 is I did not paraphrase, okay? I just read this right out. And right away, when you don't paraphrase, you're looking at a 5.0. It's not good. We really want to paraphrase that right away. So, and the second problem with my answer is that it was short. I think it was probably less than a minute, and the examiner wants you to give an answer closer to 2 minutes, okay? So let's take a look at this and how can we make our answer a little better. So, as I told you before, I've been teaching English for a long time, and when I'm teaching IELTS, I'll give a student a quiz like this, a little question, and they'll sit and they don't know what to say. They don't know where to start. So, how to start your answer? You can do this one of two ways. Today I'm going to talk about, or maybe today I'm going to tell you about. Okay, so right away with this quiz here, we've got describe and old. So we're changing describe, and I'm going to tell you about this. Now, I want to move on and talk a little bit about vocabulary and paraphrasing. So we really want to paraphrase this first sentence. And so we've got describe, and we've already changed that to talk about, tell about. And then we've got old. So I've got a few words here that we could change for old here. We've got aged, aged, elderly, elderly is another word for old. Mature, mature is another word for old. Maybe senior, senior, great. So a few different words we could use for old. So we've got an old person. Okay, so let's see if we can change that up with a few different words. Got a character. You could call him, he's quite a character. Individual. He's an interesting individual or a fascinating individual. He's quite a personality, you might call him. Or he's quite a guy, or she's quite a gal. Okay, a little girl. She's quite, it's a little informal, but very good. So, and old, we've already covered that. And person, we've covered. Interesting. Let's look at a little vocabulary for interesting. All right. So, I've got amusing. She is an amusing person. Delightful. She is delightful. Fascinating. She has some fascinating stories about Thailand. Sure. Impressive. It's very impressive what he has done, or she has done. And lovely. She tells some lovely stories. All right. Good. So that's a little vocabulary. So we might say for this, today I'm going to talk about a fascinating individual who is a little more mature than myself. Okay? So we could, that might be a nice introduction, a nice paraphrase to this. Describe an old person who is interesting. A really nice introduction again would be, today I'm going to talk about a fascinating individual who is a little more mature than myself. Okay, so let's go back to the question. You should say who this person is. Okay, so what can we talk about? Well, who this person is, we can talk about their job, we can talk about their personality, and perhaps we could talk about their appearance. Well, he's a teacher, and he's got a very friendly personality, although he's a little skinny. Okay, a few things we could talk about to answer this part of our question. How you know this person? This is something that's kind of, it's quite nice to use in the IELTS test. It's a really good idea to use some tenses. So how do I know this person? We're probably going to talk in our past tense. Yeah? So how do you know this person? We're probably going to use a past tense here. Where's my marker? Got a marker right here. P-A-S-T. So we're going to use our past tense here. And what do you do with this person? We're probably going to use our present tense. present tense, okay? P-R-E-S-E-N-T. Present tense. Now, for good measure, we don't really have a point in here to suggest we should do future tense, but why not? Why wouldn't you include future tense? F-U-T-U-R-E. So don't forget your future. It's probably a good idea to include some future tense in your answer. Okay. Good. And the final part of this question is, why do you think this person is interesting? Now, at this point in your answer, it's really important that you keep going, okay? And here's my advice for you. It doesn't matter what you say. You just have to keep going, all right? I see a lot of students, when I'm giving a practice test, they're speaking and they just not saying enough. It's not coming through. That's not good, not for the speaking exam. Sometimes they'll tell me that they're worried about what they're going to say. Maybe it's going off, not quite talking about what they should be talking about. But for this subject, for this question, you can go off in a lot of different directions, and just keep going. Just keep going until the examiner says thank you very much and moves on to the next part of the test. So, I've got a sample answer for you, an example for this, and maybe you could listen along, and we'll see how we do here. So, this is my answer to this question again. Describe an old person who is interesting. You should say who this person is, how you know this person, what you do with this person, and why you think this person is interesting. Here's my answer. Today, I'm going to talk about a fascinating individual who is a little more mature than myself. His name is Ronan Walsh, and I think he's had an extraordinary life. He's been an English teacher for over 30 years and taught in England at Oxford University. He was a senior manager at a university in Saudi Arabia, and he's currently working right here in Vietnam. He's really talkative. He really enjoys talking a lot, and sometimes it's tough to keep up with him. Also, he's very casual in his dress, and he's quite thin. Some people might call him skinny. I was fortunate enough to meet Ronan about 16 years ago when we were working at Dammam Community College in Saudi Arabia. We started teaching there in the same year and became friends quickly. I was very much impressed with his deep knowledge of English. Ronan moved to Vietnam about a year and a half ago and has been helping Vietnamese learn English and improve their communication skills. I've spent hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours in conversation with Ronan. And I suppose the most impressive thing about him is he's always able to come up with an interesting story. Having so many experiences in different countries has given him a lot to talk about. I mean, you'd think his stories, would repeat after knowing him for as long as I have, and yet somehow they don't. Additionally, his knowledge of grammar is staggering. He always has a snappy answer when I ask for help. And I hope I can be friends with him long into the future. So, there we go. That's my my answer for part 2, and I hope you like that. And here's what I'd like to give you for homework. Okay, so you've got a couple of things to do for homework. One, I want you to sit down and make some notes for the question. You know the question. All right. Two, I want you to get your phone out and time yourself, okay? Time yourself and see how long you go. Try, if you're less than a minute, think about some different ways you could stretch out your answer. Talk a little bit more about the person's appearance, what their job is, what they like to do, maybe what they don't like to do. Good. If you're over 2 minutes, great, okay? The examiner will stop you after 2 minutes, so not to worry if you're talking too much. Finally, I'd like you to practice speaking out loud with a friend, okay? If you don't have a friend next to you, you can always use your phone them up and do the speaking test over the phone with them. That could be a fun way to practice your speaking. If you don't have a friend to practice with, that's okay too. You can try recording yourself on your phone. And what's great about recording yourself is that you can, what can you do? You can listen to yourself again and find your mistakes, okay? And that's very helpful. Sometimes it's really difficult to listen to yourself when you're making all those mistakes, but it's a growing moment for you, I hope. Right, so thank you very much for joining me, everyone. That's all I've got for today. We're going to, I'm going to try to make a few more live streams more often. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give us a thumbs up, give us a little heart. Please join the comments down below and say hello. If you're interested in studying, give us a shout over at EnglishHanoi.com. We've been helping a lot of people for many years, and I'm sure we can help you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.